That's awesome, Swanee, isn't it, hey? Wow, you got to love these. It's a 40 series, of course, and that's what we're doing today. We've got two other 40s. Rick's bought his BJ42, and Andrew's got his BJ42. These are both the 3B diesels, and they're both 84 models, so they're disc brake and power steer and everything else. Very fitting company for Milo, because Milo's an 83 with a 13BT. Swanee normally drives a water truck. He's got a few of them, actually. And I think he had plans on bringing one along today in case it got a bit muddy, didn't you, mate? But we don't need one because it's really rained hard here at the Springs. It's Ian's property. You seen rain like this before?
For a long, long while.
No, we got buckets of mud here at the Springs. The Springs, in case you don't know it, because it hasn't been on the map that long, is one of those must-see four-wheel drive parks in terms of camping, views, just the general scenery. You're not going to see a lot of that today because it's really cloudy and raining, but by crikey, we're going to have some fun. This is awesome. Come and have a look. The old 40 Series Toyota is probably the most iconic four-wheel drive in Australia. And I guess the reason it is because even though we had Jeeps and we had Land Rovers before Toyota came along, it was the Toyotas that really convinced people in the outback that they needed a four-wheel drive. Up until then, four-wheel drives just weren't either reliable enough or comfortable enough to perform decent long-distance trips. Then along comes those early Toyotas and they persuaded everybody that you could be reasonably reliable and reasonably comfortable. And the funny thing is, I'm one of those people. I'm of that generation. I always thought a four-wheel drive was a Jeep or a Land Rover, and you kept it at home and you used it to go out on the beach or in the back paddocks or something like that. But if you needed to go to town, you took the Valiant or the Holden or something else. Then along came these Toyotas. Now, it would have been, I guess 1968, 69, they really started to hit the market hard, but it wasn't until about 1973, I think it was, that I had my first drive in an FJ40, and it was a mate's ute. And he said, look, you got to try this. And I said, oh, look, I'm not interested in that. It's Japanese. It's just a copy of a Jeep. It just doesn't do anything for me. Well, I got in it. The first thing I noticed was a couple of really good things, like door trims and individual seats and wind-up windows. I thought, wow, this really is comfortable. This is something else. But it's not going to last because, hey, it's made in Japan. Guess what? They lasted. They kept on lasting. They lasted so well, they kept pretty much the same model all the way through until 1984. And when I looked at sticking a later model 75 series chassis under Milo's body when I was first modifying it, the thing that surprised me was that it was virtually the same. So they didn't even bother changing the chassis. They just kept on building the world's best truck. They've become such an icon that people go right out of their way to get hold of them. And Andrew and Rick, well, they're true 40 Series owners. They really are. I mean, they live, breathe. I was almost going to say they sleep with their 40s. Maybe that's when they do break down. Well, Milo churned that bit up a fair bit. So Andrew's BJ's having a bit of strife, as you saw. What do you got your tyres set at?
18, 20, I think, yeah.
Well, it looks to me like the tyres aren't deflecting enough. So how about we try them 10 or 12? Say 12 pounds?
12 pounds, all right.
And we'll see what it'll do, because it just might be enough to get it out of here. If that doesn't work, we're winching. I got to say, mate, that was awesome driving too. To not get any panel damage there. And no one could see me. I was down the bottom of this sandhole. 16 pounds. Let's see if this makes a difference. We're down to 9 pounds now, because they just weren't deflecting enough at 12, and they still don't look like they're bagged out enough, these tyres. Not a lot of weight in a shorty when it's got no roof. We'll just see if this makes a difference. You know, did you see that? the whole point of this is wet, mud, steep climbs, all the rest of it, and we're down to 9 psi to get the tyres deflated. Letting your tyres down isn't just for sand, it's for days like this when you're out having fun. Let's go and have some more fun. That worked brilliant.
No revs necessary.
No, and a beaut bit of driving too. Andrew pulled that off without any panel damage.
Yeah.
Come on, Rick, bring it on. Oh, look at Rick's 40 go up there. Beautiful.
Yeah, the LSD working its head off and the right tyre pressure, eh?
Oh, well done, mate. That's one of the things about tyre pressures. If you've got a light truck, the numbers are meaningless. Just like if you've got a heavy truck, numbers are meaningless. It's all about deflection. It really is. How much that tyre is bagged out. So if the truck's heavy at the front, light at the back, the tyres still should be bagged out the same back and front. Now, Milo looks like it's making fairly easy work of this, but don't forget, I've got one hidden advantage. I've got lockers. Unfortunately, they didn't help me out this time, did they? Uh-oh. See that? Sheer stupid, that was. I could see that big rock right in the middle of the track from down the bottom, but I thought it'd be okay. I thought Milo could walk around the side of it, you know? Well, that's not what happened, and it sounds as if it spat the transfer, probably the spline, to the front drive shaft. I've only got rear wheel drive now. It's a classic case of if I'd come up here and packed a few rocks around that big fella, she would have walked all the way to the top and there'd be no damage. As it is, two-wheel drive, on a day like this, that's pretty much the end of the day, unfortunately. Once we get out of here anyway. If we get out of here, that's the last place you want to go backwards, that hill. It's a bit of a corker, to be honest, and neither of the other 40s without deflocks had a chance of even getting to the starting point, which is kind of funny because I was talking to Andrew and Rick about this later.
Okay, you ready, Ruthie?
Yeah, I'm ready, mate.
Right, clear winching.
And they both said, oh, we don't bother with lockers because, you know, once you fit lockers, you start damaging your truck. Well, I guess at this stage I wasn't really the bloke to argue that point, was I? If I didn't have lockers, I wouldn't have got there. I wouldn't have done that damage. Never mind. The old Thomas is a PTO winch. That means the power's taken straight off the transfer case. It might be slow, but by crikey, is it reliable and is it strong too. Strong enough to bend a chassis, which is why we've got it propped right on the middle of that tree. About now, the rain really started to come down. Milo's in two-wheel drive, and I'm thinking, wow, I've got some big work ahead of me here now. But the good thing about the Springs, of course, is it's only a couple of hours from Brisbane. So as long as we can get out of here and I can patch it up enough, it'll be worth just shooting home, waiting for the weather to change, drying the dog, and coming back for another go. But of course, there's a lot of mechanical bits between that point and this, isn't there? Not to worry. Rule number one, if the truck's okay, we're okay. And that's what we need, just to finish off this recovery. Rick brings in his 40 and gives me a little bit of a pull over the top of the hill. Good on you, mate. By crikey. That's a relief just to get going again, isn't it? There's nothing worse than being stopped on a hill. Never mind, back home to a nice warm shed, and we'll see if we can't sort this out and have a crack at that hill another day.
Battery World has power for everything to keep you on the move. Batteries for your car, boat, motorcycle, truck, caravan, jet ski. Phone 13 17 60. Power for everything.